Good afternoon. Welcome everyone who has joined us. Olga Tumanova with us, the Media Center Ukraine Forum. It's the 9th year of the war and 184 days since the full-scale invasion of the Russian aggressor to our land, and I thank everyone who tells the world the truth about this war and the heroic resistance of the Ukrainian people. Today at 2:30, Deputy Minister of Culture and Information Policy Katerina Chuyeva will join us in this audience and will talk about the crimes of the Russian aggressor against the Ukrainian cultural heritage and the international cooperation in countering it. And now we have online Mykola Lukashuk. He is head of the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast Council and Deputy Head of the Council for Defense of Dnipropetrovsk region. How the last day has passed in the region? Well, it was complicated. We had bombings and shootings over Nikopol and Sinelnikovo districts. They hit agrarian enterprises. There is an information that some populated centers do not have electricity now. What's happening in this respect? What's the situation? Yes, we have this situation in Nikopol. The DTEC company is working on restoring the energy supply. Almost 1,000 people are without electricity there. They're doing everything so that the electricity is back. I think that by evening we will do this. And of course, the work is being conducted only when there's a permit from the military and from the police. After obtaining this, the data company starts to work. What is the situation in Marhanets and Nikopol, the cities which are constantly under shelling? The enemy is continuing its terror from the side of Enerhodar. Nikopol is a huge industrial town which had 120,000 people before the active phase of the war. Something like 40,000 people still remain there. In Marhanets, nobody leaves, and we may see on the map that there's a small distance to Kherson Oblast, which is today temporarily occupied, and there's a zone of combat at the boundaries of Kherson and Dnipropetrovsk region. Are medical establishments working, and what's the situation with the food? You know, the situation in all the three districts is under control. It is stable. The enemy has not an opportunity to enter the territory of the oblast. Every hospital works. There's enough foodstuff, and all the districts that have boundaries together with Kryvyi Rih district, we are transporting drinking water and foodstuffs there. On the 24th of August, on the day of Ukraine's independence, the occupants hit the village of Chaplyne. We know that there were rescue work going there. What's the situation at the moment? All the rescue works have been completed yesterday evening. According to the Procurator General's office, this was the targeted terror act against the peaceful people of our country. This was a coordinated shelling. It was also with using S-300 missiles and Iskander missiles. Iskander is a contemporary modern precision weapon which was made in order to evade the air defense. And when they hit the railway station, there was a car coming by with internally displaced people from Donetsk, and the aggregate number of peaceful people killed in Dnipropetrovsk region during this week, it's 26. 25 of them were killed in Chaplyne. Last year, when we were adopting the budget of the oblast, we allocated money to modernize hospitals in the Dnipropetrovsk region. So I think this was the God's providence, because we were able to channel the money to hospitals, and when the money reached the hospitals, the war broke out. So the hospitals are now full to capacity, and they also provide help to residents of Donetsk, Luhansk, and Zaporizhia Oblast, and of course of our Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. And I can tell you that every person who is wounded has a huge stress. We also saw the official statement from the occupants that they hit the railway infrastructure on purpose and that they were aiming to kill our military. Look, we saw this statement, and through this station, the evacuation of people from Donetsk region is going to Lviv, a special train. So I think that the use of Iskander missiles and the S-300 missiles testifies to the facts, proves that the enemy knew that there were no military, that there were civilians. There we saw that when police came and our rescuers came, there were no military at the moment. We think that this was a specific terror act in order to pressurize the population and kill peaceful people. We know that there are counter-subversive actions going on in the oblast. Could you comment on this? I can tell you one thing. Both police and the National Guards and the Security Service of Ukraine are working in an enhanced regime. I think that the Security Service will provide specific information. I have no right to disclose it, but I tell you that on the day of the state banner and on the State of Independence, our police and other law enforcers did everything they could so that the holidays took place. Dmitro can inform how the preparation to the heating season is going on and what we do with the damaged energy supply system. Well, as far as boilers are concerned, we are okay. We are now waiting for the information from the Cabinet of Ministers that more than 14 million hryvnia are allocated to the needs of the heating season. As far as of today, we think that we have something like 12 million cubic meters of gas. We understand that the winter will be difficult, but we're checking all the equipment so that it can be launched by the heating season. How much of the crops were destroyed since the Russian invasion started? Look, even this past week, even this current week, we had hits at our silos and depots. I think that something like 500 hectares of fields were burnt. These were in Kryvyi Rih and Sinelnikove districts, bordering on Zaporizhia and Donetsk regions. We understood such a tactics of the enemy. We saw this in 2014 as well, and our military has warned our agrarians that this could happen when they hit the field and the field burns. So something like 500 hectares of such fields were destroyed. Some other questions. Sergei Kedeon News. the statement of the Russian Ministry of Defense that a military train was hit in Chaplyne, and as a result of the attack, more than 200 Ukrainian military and 10 armored vehicles were destroyed, is not true, absolutely. Look, this station sees the transit of transport for the evacuation of our people from Donetsk Oblast to Lviv. Some of the people were staying with us, the IDPs, but because Dnipropetrovsk region was hit more than 30 times during this week from guns in Nikopol and Kryvyi Rih, also missile attacks in Sinelnikovo, also in Dnipro district, 4 districts we had under shelling and bombings this week. So we have the statistics that the number of internally displaced people for the first time during this war became less by 2,000 people. We used to have 317.5 thousand internally displaced people, but now we have 315.5. So something like 2,000 people went to Kirovograd region and the western part of the Ukraine. And finally, I want to ask you about the start of the academic year. How prepared are you and how it will be launched in Dnipropetrovsk region? We have checked, examined all the educational establishments. In most of the communities, they decided to work online. In some of the communities which have not suffered as a result of the Russian occupant's aggression, there will be a mixed form of education, and maybe in some communities pupils will start to go to school from the 31st of August, and in some later. And of course you understand that in some schools something like 250 first graders go to the school, and of course the parents and grandparents come with them, and if there's an air attack they have to hide somewhere. In Dnipro and Kryvyi Rih, in these cities, a unanimous decision was taken that they will be learning online, and this concerns 1,800,000 people out of the 3 million population of the region. And this also, of course, is connected to the capacity of our shelters. Mykola Lukashuk, head of the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast Council, was with us. Thank you, and our next briefing will take place at 14:30. We'll talk about the crimes of the Russian Federation against the